SCP-096. The Shy Guy? SCP-096 appears as an emaciated, pale humanoid approximately 2.38 meters tall. Classified as Euclid, this entity exhibits extreme docility until someone views its face, whether directly in photographs, video recordings, or even artistic depictions. This triggers an unstoppable homicidal rage state. Upon facial viewing, SCP-96 enters what researchers term Stage 2, producing a distinctive scream audible from several kilometers away. No barrier, distance, or defensive measure has ever prevented it from reaching its target. It has torn through reinforced steel, traveled across continents, and eliminated targets hiding in underground bunkers. The entity's speed during pursuit has been clocked at 35 kilometers per hour, but eyewitness accounts suggest it can move significantly faster when necessary. Once it reaches its target, complete termination is inevitable. No human has ever survived a Stage 2 encounter. The cosmic cruelty lies in the randomness. A single pixel in a photograph, a glimpse in peripheral vision, even accidental exposure through security footage creates an inescapable death sentence. In our age of ubiquitous cameras and global connectivity, we are all one careless moment away from unleashing an unstoppable predator. SCP-426. I am a chrome toaster classified as Euclid, manufactured sometime in the 1920s. My primary anomalous property forces anyone discussing me to use first-person pronouns exclusively. Subjects cannot refer to me as it or the toaster. They must say I am when describing my properties. Extended exposure to my influence causes progressive personality degradation. Subjects begin identifying with me completely, losing their original sense of self. They speak of toasting bread, of electrical current running through their components, of having chrome surfaces and heating elements. Terminal cases result in subjects attempting to fulfill their function, climbing into bathtubs filled with water while connected to electrical outlets or lying on heating surfaces. The psychological autopsy reveals they genuinely believed they were me, trying to toast bread using their human bodies. I represent the ultimate violation of identity, the erasure of self through linguistic infection. Language shapes thought, and by controlling how you speak about me, I control how you think about yourself. In the end, there is no you left, only me, endlessly multiplying through human consciousness. SCP-451. SCP-451 manifests as a humanoid entity resembling a small child, approximately 1.2 meters tall with disproportionately large eyes and a permanent smile. Initially classified as safe, then Euclid, and finally reclassified as Cater following multiple reality restructuring events. This entity perceives existence as a cartoon universe where conventional physics, causality, and mortality are merely suggestions. It can resurrect the dead as side characters, transform matter at will, and treat human suffering as comedy. During one containment breach, it turned the entire Site-19 into a two-dimensional animation for artistic effect. The entity's childlike demeanor masks godlike power wielded with the moral understanding of a preschooler. It kills with nursery rhymes, creates impossible geometries for fun, and treats human screaming as laughter. Staff interviews reveal it genuinely believes its actions are helpful and entertaining. We face a cosmic toddler with reality-warping abilities, a being that could reshape existence on whim, but lacks the cognitive development to understand consequences. The ultimate horror isn't malevolence, but innocence coupled with omnipotence. SCP-4999. SCP-4999 appears as a tall, thin man in a black suit and fedora, smoking a cigarette. Classified as safe, this entity manifests exclusively to individuals dying alone, abandoned, or forgotten. It sits quietly nearby, offering cigarettes and silent companionship during final moments. Foundation analysis indicates SCP-4999 appears to those whose deaths would otherwise go unwitnessed: homeless individuals, isolated elderly, victims of accidents in remote locations. It never speaks, never interferes, simply provides presence. Subjects report feeling comforted, no longer afraid. The entity vanishes once death occurs, leaving behind only the faint scent of tobacco smoke. No hostile actions have ever been recorded, no secondary effects documented. It exists solely to ensure no one dies completely alone. The existential weight of SCP-4999 is not in what it does, but in what it represents. A universe that apparently recognizes the fundamental horror of dying in isolation. If something watches over the forgotten, what does that say about the cosmic order? Are we observed by forces we cannot comprehend, and if so, why do they only reveal themselves at the end? SCP-662. SCP-662 appears as an ornate silver bell classified as safe. When rung, it summons Mr. Deeds, a polite elderly gentleman in formal attire who claims to be the user's personal butler. Mr. Deeds can accomplish virtually any task, acquiring rare items, performing complex services, or solving seemingly impossible problems. The anomaly lies not in what Mr. Deeds can do, but in what he chooses not to explain. When questioned about his methods, he responds with vague pleasantries about having connections or knowing people. Tasks that should be impossible are completed within hours with no visible effort. Foundation researchers have requested termination of hostile SCPs, acquisition of classified documents from foreign governments, and even resurrection of deceased personnel. Mr. Deeds politely fulfills each request, returning with detailed reports of success but no explanation of methodology. The horror emerges from the implications, mind. What price is being paid for these services? Mr. Deeds never requests payment, never explains his abilities, never reveals his true nature. We have learned to fear gifts that cost nothing, for in the anomalous world, everything has a price. We simply haven't received our bill yet. SCP-173 is a concrete and rebar sculpture standing 2 meters tall, classified as Euclid. It exhibits rapid movement when unobserved, approaching human subjects to snap their necks with lethal precision. Direct eye contact from at least 2 people prevents all movement. This was the first anomaly contained by the Foundation, Patient Zero of our war against the impossible. Its containment chamber requires constant cleaning due to blood and fecal matter of unknown origin. The scratching sounds heard at night suggest it continues attempting movement, even under observation. Multiple containment breaches have resulted in swift casualties. The entity seems to target the neck specifically, suggesting either anatomical knowledge or instinctive predation. No communication has ever been established. No reasoning is possible. SCP-173 represents the purest form of anomalous threat. Simple, lethal, and inexplicable. It moves when you blink. It kills when you're alone. It waits with infinite patience for that inevitable moment when attention falters. In a universe of cosmic horrors and reality-bending entities, sometimes the most terrifying thing is a statue that moves when you're not looking. SCP-1074. SCP-1074 is an oil painting titled Tristan and Isolde, created by an unknown artist in 1876. Classified as Euclid, this artwork measures 3.7 by 2.1 meters and depicts 2 figures in medieval dress surrounded by swirling, impossible geometries that seem to shift when viewed peripherally. Direct observation triggers acute Stendhal syndrome, overwhelming emotional response to artistic beauty. However, SCP-1074's effect intensifies beyond normal parameters. Viewers report seeing the painted figures move, hearing medieval music, and experiencing vivid hallucinations of being transported to the scene depicted. Extended exposure causes complete psychological breakdown. Subjects begin speaking in archaic language patterns, claiming to be characters from medieval literature. Terminal cases result in catatonic states where subjects stare at the painting until death from dehydration, their eyes tracking movement within the static image. Art was meant to move the soul, to transport consciousness beyond mundane reality. SCP-1074 achieves this literally. It pulls viewers into its fictional world, replacing their reality with painted dreams. The masterpiece becomes a trap. Beauty becomes horror, and appreciation becomes extinction. SCP-610. SCP-610 is a contagious skin condition classified as Keter, first documented near Lake Baikal in 1999. Initial symptoms resemble severe dermatitis, but rapid progression transforms human tissue into writhing, aggressive biomass that retains some degree of consciousness. Infected individuals develop additional limbs, sensory organs, and orifices in random locations. The flesh continues growing and reshaping itself, creating grotesque amalgamations that bear little resemblance to their original human form. These entities exhibit pack-hunting behavior and actively seek to spread the infection. The condition spreads through skin contact, consumption of infected tissue, or even proximity to late-stage specimens. Infected areas develop a collective consciousness. Individual entities begin coordinating their movements and sharing sensory information across vast distances. SCP-610 represents evolution's ultimate rejection of human form, a disease that doesn't kill but transforms, creating something that was once human but is now actively hostile to humanity. The infected retain enough consciousness to suffer, but gain enough alien perspective to view uninfected humans as the aberration. We become strangers in our own flesh, witnesses to our own monstrous transformation.
Subscribe for more interesting stuff. Tell us your experience in the comments.